Good afternoon, and welcome into another Titan Talk. It's Friday, it's the 27th of March. I had to check the handy-dandy PC there, just to make sure I was correct with the date. But we're back with another Titan Talk this Friday.
Oh, Echo.
That's funny. Wait.
No, there's
I
not.
know, but that's like topical.
Yeah.
That's actually funny. Even on the stream, Echo's a little bit too strong.
We had that happen as we start. It's going to... I think we're back.
Oh,
Okay. Can you hear us now? Is it better?
Hopefully there's no echo anymore.
Have we nerfed Echo?
Good now. Okay, there we go.
Switch it off and on again. Switch
Apologies.
it off and on again.
Yeah. Sometimes we just need to reset the thing. Yeah. We have Echo both on the stream and in the game. It seems like it's been fun.
It is. It has, I guess. Yeah, sorry, I lost my train of thought now. So yeah, Echo, we actually not got a ton to talk about. Clumzy's on today though, so we'll be taking a lot of Q&A is the plan. We'll quickly go over some hotfix notes that happened over the last few days, including last night. We've officially put them on the Smite 2 wiki as well, so you can follow all these hotfix notes there, but I'll just quickly go over them. On the 25th, which was Wednesday, we had adjustments to Echo adjustment to be applied after damage mitigations instead of pre-mitigations, which has kind of toned it down a little bit there. Item adjustments, Alchemist Cloak no longer produces a potion immediately on purchase. This was abusable. Is what
was it?
People were getting a potion in their inventory and then potentially selling it back to them rebuy the item.
No, because when you swapped inventory slots, it would just drop an inventory. It would drop an item in inventory immediately.
So now Alchemist Cloak.
But people are so smart trying all these crazy.
They always do. And they go, man, how did you guys miss this? And I'm like, well, we're not really trying to break it all the time. Double Up Binding has been re-enabled. We had a couple of issues on release of that, but it is now back in the game. Not hearing any other negative reports about that. And also, quick Godfix on that Wednesday as well was Gilgamesh Leap is now pullable.
Yeah, did you want? I can.
I was going to fix the issue. Is the camera wrong?
Yeah, it's just I want you to. You're so low.
You could is it me?
It's you.
Oh,
you're low.
Who cares?
Let's get it. Yeah,
Great work,
Clumzy. There we go. Perfect.
I think that camera's just lifting up slowly over time. There we go. I like being shorter. It's like a little gnome.
It's better.
Little round gnome over here. 26 yesterday. We also did a couple of adjustments as well to Damaru, which was one of the biggest complaints in the community to an extent of just how potent it was. Damaru now correctly does 10% per stack, still multiplicative of its ability, but also Damaru. I keep saying it wrong. I want to say Damaru, but it's Damaru.
Damaru drum.
Avoid Damaru. That's my one.
Now only procs once per target per ability, even if it crits or echoes on the same hit. This is a good example. Best example I can give you is like a Fenrir. If he uses his third ability, it won't give him multiple stacks. It will give him one stack of either or, of echo or crit. It won't continue to proc. So that's the change to Damaru that are in game. Also, Shroud of Vengeance was a little bit potent on release, as it's now correctly doing the correct amount of damage, which is 50 plus 40% of your protections, rather than 40 plus 100% of your protections. And
that's
additionally,
turns out dealing 100% of your protection.
It's not bad.
It's not bad.
Additionally, Shroud of Vengeance now has a small internal cooldown, so you can't kill yourself by mistake on this buff. I can't kill yourself on the patch notes or anything like that, but that's really what was happening. You could murder yourself as Ganesh. You could technically kill yourself. Yeah. And then also Mercury's Talaria, we fixed the issue, distance fix on that, and clears on non-movement abilities. And additionally, the Godfix for Mercury was also put in there, which was for his third ability, getting stuck where he would continue to deal damage if he died or the target died during the use of it.
Yeah, it was a very weird specific timing thing. I saw a video where somebody took like 200,000 damage over the course of a game because it just stayed on you forever.
Yeah.
You know?
The infinite taking stuff. I remember that back in the day, like Set and Merlin.
There was quite a few updates to the UI as well. Major standout ones, obviously, the console store displaying the new stat pages for console players was really big, and also the surrender pause overlapping the store, which a lot of people complain about. We've already got those fixes in game, so you should see these all in your games right now. And additionally, Gilgamesh aspect is now live.
Nice, Gilgamesh incoming.
Play around with the new
with the walls.
Features, with the
walls.
walls.
Be really interesting.
Walls and walls.
I know there's a lot of like TTS feedback and people saying how cool it was and what a unique type of aspect it is. So I'm really excited to see people trying it out.
Clumzy, you did make one mistake today. You showcased where Manny was today.
Was that meant to be a surprise?
No, it was just more like everyone's like, man, he's on the floor now.
Yeah.
We're just relegated down there.
He's chilling.
He works so hard on these
shows. He does.
Shows,
That's why he's just taking a break in the corner.
Normally, I put him in the chair over there. You don't put him in the chair over there when he's not on the cast?
No.
I always try and treat him well. You know?
I wish he was like facing the wall.
He's been around the studio a long time, that Manny. Let me tell you, his nose used to be correct. before it got dropped a few times, unfortunately. So, yeah, it has happened over time. But yeah, we're here today to answer all your questions related to the update. Obviously, Clumzy, we had all these changes with the new items coming in, the new stats and things.
Yep.
We seen any, how have we felt about it so far?
It's been very turbulent in the sense that like people don't know how to react. I think there's a lot of excitement, right? It's like one of the first times we've actually introduced new different types of stats. I've seen a lot of mixed feedback of just like, okay, like this is really interesting, and now there's a lot of new ways to play the game, a lot of new ways to build and counter build. And I've seen the opposite of that of just like, okay, it's added a lot of confusion to the game. But that is technically true. The skill floor and skill ceiling has increased in a way. There's going to be a little bit more learning to do, but I think overall this is something that we've always wanted to expand on. We've always wanted to try out these things. Even in Smite 1, we had like a bullet point that was always there. Just talking about like, okay, can we add new stats? Can we just do things to make the game more exciting? And it's like, okay, well in Smite 2, we finally had that opportunity. And this is just step one, right? This is just another thing that we wanted to do to make Smite 2 more interesting. And then we're going to keep going down on the line to see what we can do, whether it's fixing what we have right now and playing around with them or introducing new things in the future.
And I will, one thing that I think is maybe worth talking through here, there was an interesting discussion on the Ambassadors Discord about some people felt like the introduction of new stats was inconsistent with our goals around removing anti-heal. And I kind of want to talk through that because I think it is an interesting take, right? The thought was, hey, you're dumbing down the game and making building simpler by taking out anti-heal.
Okay, right.
And now you're making it way more complicated by adding 5 new stats, right? And I think there's a couple different things at play there, but I've seen some of this discourse in the community outside the Ambassador Discourse, why I want to talk through it. So I think the first thing is that like removing the way anti-heal used to work was partially driven by making the game simpler, but not really. The main reasons were healing characters were fundamentally imbalanced.
Yes.
Because it was either they aren't anti-healed and they are the strongest characters in the game, or they are anti-healed up to like 100% and are completely useless.
Yeah.
The way that anti-heal worked just made it so that healing was functionally not a balanceable or fun to play with thing in the game of Smite. The other problem is that that anti-heal, when it was that level of anti-heal, was really it wasn't just you can optimize your build better in certain situations. It was against certain characters, if you don't build this, you will lose.
Right, exactly.
And that kind of like very like on off.
It's very binary.
Very binary.
It's very, there's no gray there.
It's not like, oh, maybe, I'm against a team with more basic attackers, so I should be building some plating. It's like, I will lose this game if I don't build anti-healing. And for especially like this happened across all skill levels, but especially new players who are building using auto builder, using recommended item store, following builds on the internet.
Yeah.
I still follow builds on the internet sometimes.
So
if I'm playing a god I don't play very much, right?
Totally.
And if I'm like, okay, I'm just gonna dogmatically follow this build for whatever. I'm just gonna say Kernanos, right?
Right.
And my build doesn't know that the person I'm playing against has three healers on their team, and I should have built Brawler's second item or something or whatever, right? Like that there were just so many situations where you could automatically lose a game by not building anti-healing, and that was worth addressing. So I think that like sure you can say that it dumbed down the game by changing the way that worked, but I think that and this makes the game more complicated, but I think this makes the game have more depth in building for like mid and high level players, and it doesn't ruin the game for low level players if they aren't 100% optimizing how many points of plating versus damping they have, right? I mean,
because it's just like another angle of deviation there. Like if you want to build into defending that, you can buy plating and damping, but you still have health, you still have physical and magical protection.
Yeah, those still
different
work.
ways of stopping that. You have attack speed slows and different methodologies to try and counteract that. While healing and anti-healing is really just two things, right?
Sure.
It's really just the one thing, which is anti-healing.
No, it definitely feels now like, in my opinion, like just looking at the tanks, you've got way more options in the game to combat what you're against.
Yes, exactly.
And I think that's the nice key of like, you're not just going to go a cookie cutter build every time because these are the best items. You will vary that up a little bit of like, do you want Stampede to help get the chase down? Do you need a Hexstone? later on in the game, am I going to go Spectral to deal with the crit? Is crit my biggest issue? Do I want to go Dampening because it's the Toth that's in mid lane? I said the word Toth because he's a prime example of someone that just like nukes you and you want that dampening, you know, to maybe reduce that damage. You can kind of play around that, but also play to the strengths and weaknesses of what your team's bringing, which is nice rather than like, you know, you've all 6 items are guaranteed to be the same every single time.
And another thing that's, you know, available to us with just having more stats, which is not something that we've done in this first pass, but something that we've thought about too, is you can start introducing these a little bit into like the god kits themselves to specialize even them a little bit further, right? Because we already had people going like, hey, why, you know, we had the god stat pass that we did alongside this. Is like, you know, we have certain characters that have a little bit of intrigue on one side or the other, but what if you start introducing like, okay, Echo was a part of this god's ability, or dampening, this character does dampening instead of magical protection.
You know who should have Echo?
Oh no, here we go.
Apollo.
Yeah. Oh,
Music.
sure.
Music, sound, audio.
His one is so fast in aspect already. He can spam it already. Now it's going to Echo.
I'm just saying thematically. I'm not.
I just know how chat will respond to that. Where they're like, "Wait a second, no, Echo and Apollo." No.
But like,
he only does
like
two.
Bologna passive gives her movement speed, right?
Right.
Yeah,
Someone said Camazot's Echo.
That could be Pathfinder.
Camazot's Echo makes a lot of sense, right?
Great one.
But like, you know, it could be pathfinding on Bologna
exactly.
instead of being movement speed, right? Then it could be better for the game, and it could be you could give her more points because it's better out of, I don't know. Like there's something you can do.
There's just more things that we can do. It actually just opens up a lot more avenues.
For sure.
It's
cool.
kind of also like this. I'm gonna throw one more thing in there. Like, you're not a Magic player.
I dabble.
So one of the things that's interesting as somebody who has played Magic for a long time, right? Because I've played Magic since like Tempest, so I'm very old. But like more and more things became keyworded as
absolutely,
you know, like can attack without tapping became vigilance, right? Can attack does not have summoning sickness on the turn it comes into play became haste, right? All of these things that like were features that occurred in the game already, like became codified with a single like keyword, right? And I think that like there's an opportunity to do some of that around.
Absolutely.
Like that's kind of partially what we've done around some of these stats, and it's kind of partially what we could do more in the future too, where it's like, oh well, you know, these things that we've had a concept of in Smite at some point in the future could be tied together by a single stat keyword that then is easier to find things that do it and understand what it does once you cross the knowledge gap of learning what that means, right? There's a little bit of maybe a tiny bit more learning at the very beginning by saying vigilance instead of, you know, doesn't tap to attack. Phrase, But once you know it, then it's really easy to understand everywhere you see it.
Even in Magic, that exact same thing. Like I've been in like a cube or something where it has older cards and newer cards, and I'll see like a phrase, and then I'll see like almost the exact same thing somewhere else, or I'll see another format where it'll say the phrase and then it'll say what it does, and I have to go to like skill it on. I'll be like, what are the difference between these two? It's like, no, they're just different formats. They all just mean the exact same thing. Do you guys actually change things from PTS to live based on feedback? Yeah, we absolutely do.
We did for this patch.
Yeah, there was stuff that definitely went into this patch that wasn't there before.
Yeah, I think one of the main things that we're going to be careful of is if it's like just straight up balance feedback that isn't obvious, right? I have seen PTS feedback, even let's say, I'm just like, I always want to be careful with my words, but we had Ratatosker in the Gilgamesh update, and I had some people, you know, linking me streams of people doing extremely busted stuff, saying that he's broken and way too strong. And then I've seen the opposite side of like, okay, he's actually just really weak. And not obviously to mention that he's got different acorns and different abilities, but we have to be very careful, and we don't want to just reflexively balance things before like even day one of a patch going live, we get infinitely more feedback immediately, and we've been way faster on hotfixing things, and it's almost better sometimes to wait for that. But if there's bugs, if there's obvious broken issues, you know, like I think Ratosker's third ability, whether it's in PTS or an ambassador's test, wasn't doing the subsequent damage reduction like that. You know, we found those things and we fixed those. So we're definitely going to be paying attention to
that. Do you know how Gilgamesh has been doing statistically? How's he performing?
I actually haven't looked. I'm not sure if Pon's in chat, but I haven't looked at him specifically myself.
Okay.
And I know his aspect is coming out. I know a lot of people saying, you know, he's strong. They feel
Pon
the
says,
drop.
I'll run it. Give me 10 minutes. Okay.
Well, no, in 10 minutes. Thoughts on support passive letting you upgrade your star at level 15 again if you have at least gold on your team? I get the feedback of the support players right regarding this of like they kind of did lose a little bit of the support things. I know the team's kind of looking at it of like potential ways in the future.
It's just one of those things of like we didn't want to just make those two starter items the level 15
Upgradable
options for
earlier.
everyone, because
Right.
technically they're not the support options anymore.
Sure.
But could we add tech in the future to say, hey, if you were the support role, all of your like any starter item can be upgraded earlier?
Wow.
Maybe, but
Okay.
that's tech we don't have
Yeah.
up
And
front.
sure.
That is not something we can do off the bat. But we did think about that.
I will say, I think the other thing about that too is that like a lot of the complaints I have seen have been from people who play tanks in non-conquest modes.
Yes,
that
right,
were.
right.
I don't want to say they were abusing the support starters, but the support starters were always extremely good in non-conquest modes because you got more gold, you got to upgrade it sooner and get a very powerful effect. And those tend to be passives that are really good around more people,
Absolutely.
right? And you're always around more people in the non-conquest modes. So I think that like in those non-conquest modes, you definitely saw those starters become less good. But I think it's a very easy argument to make that those starters are way too good for way too long, for over a decade, right?
Yeah.
Like, I mean, if you like Smite 1 in non-conquest mode. So, it's pros and cons, but I think that like that is a part of the feedback that we've heard. And it's like just tying it to the role passive that you get in Conquest doesn't necessarily address the feedback in non-conquest modes.
Yep, it's very true.
I feel like we talked this one time before, but will we get more support for health-based builds like an HP-based Gladiator Shield? I am still 90% sure that Cersei's Hexstone does damage based on your health, right?
I never use it for that.
I think it's meant to be a health payoff.
We changed it.
Did we change it again?
No. In development to be. At
it does.
one point
Okay.
it was the
Thanks,
enemy's
Blair.
health, and then at one point it was your health. So I think the most recent version is your health.
Yeah.
Because it used to be based off the enemy's health at one point.
I get the point.
Yeah.
There's plenty of health options in the game though
Yeah.
that you can also still deal damage.
But also, like, I think we mentioned this almost last time that was on the show. It's like for every kind of goal like that, there's another similar type of thing for almost every archetype. So yes, we would absolutely love to do more things like that. We don't mind expanding on those over time for sure.
Yeah, and I feel that, but it's an active item. It only hits one person. Yeah, I get it, right? Like, I mean, I think that like having something like a more payoffs for going
Contagion
different
does
build
max
directions.
HP,
I get what you're saying for sure.
Yep.
How's the movement rework going? Was somebody said, or any update on the movement overhaul? Was the specific wording? So we've continued to work on that in the background, and we ship little parts of it live, and we just don't tell you about it because the goal is you shouldn't notice it because it should just feel like the existing movement largely. It just works better. And there have actually been a couple like kind of edge case issues that came up in this update because we shipped a few movement overhaul things that we didn't talk about that
we tracked it down.
Have led to people going really fast or not being able to move in certain rare edge cases. I believe we've got most of those, if not all of them, addressed either in dev or in live, but we are continually working on that. It's just not going to be we snap our fingers and the whole thing ships. No, we find that
it's a work in progress.
It's just the way we do development in general, right? We prefer to like get something up that we ship that isn't necessarily the finished product, and then get feedback on how is this looking, right? Are we going in the right direction? This kind of goes back to our icons for the new items, right? It's like we could have taken another
MS Paint level of the.
We could have taken another few weeks and done real icons before we shipped the items, but it's like no, let's ship the items. Let's see how people feel about them. If they feel good about it, then we'll keep working on it. And
going back to what we said as well about like items and testing, is like even if we did do that and tried to polish things internally, the day we put that stuff into live, we're gonna find so many different interactions that we couldn't even begin to fathom between items, gods, the combined things, and then like even the different game modes. So just being able to do it piecemeal like this, we find things out without having to just like do something that we think works and then go back to the drawing board completely.
I think some of it as well is like we do playtest daily. I think the problem is that there's the amount of games that are in live all the time, every single day, and all the different combinations of gods and items makes it very tricky to always track down every interaction and go, oh, this is awkward. But we find it as time goes on with all these live games getting played.
Yep, exactly.
Option to have MS Paint version of every item. That would be fun.
I'm down for that. They can't complain about the
April
artwork
Fool's
or
is
anything.
coming up. You guys have like a few days to just change everything.
What are your thoughts on a system that automatically abandons a ranked game when somebody quits before 5 minutes? Because that happens not so rarely. We do let you surrender very early if that happens.
Yeah.
And I think that that's probably the right approach. There are times where people want to play it out. And there's even in ranked, there's times where the 4v5 wins, right? Obviously not the higher ends.
It has happened to me,
but
at least once.
Like if you're at the tippity top 1%, maybe it's not going to happen, right? But like if you're in the bottom 80%, which 80% of players are, there's a good chance that it could happen, right? So forcing people into quitting the game probably not what we're going to do.
Mm-hmm.
Any new supporters for items coming soon? Yeah, next update, actually, we're going to have some Easter-themed name colors.
Yeah, nice.
And some teleporter effects. There's a new bundle.
Ooh, I like, the one that we were testing recently. That one was really cool.
I don't even know what those are.
The teleporter ones.
Yeah, my brain. I've seen the name colors and they look cool.
Like the Smite cart, but not right for Easter. We have a different thing.
Okay.
Yeah. It's fun.
Maybe I remember.
I'm
not trying to make you guys say it.
No, it's okay. I don't want to say it.
I don't remember.
There's a bunny and there's an egg.
Yeah. Okay. Bunny and egg.
This is such a shocker. Stop the presses.
Who would have seen that?
Halloween-themed teleporter effects.
It would have been
bunny and an egg.
been way better if it was
Or Halloween, not Halloween. Sorry.
No, when you said Halloween, I'm like, cool.
Why did I say Halloween? I'm just like, my brain.
Because we did do that? I don't know. Smite card mentioned, yeah, exactly. I've got to every time talk. We'll get new item art as like time goes in. Yep. I remember we did the MS Paint ones, and then the UI team came over and was like, "What did you guys do?" And then we let them know because we let them know ahead of time, and then we'll get more art eventually. They're definitely not going to be there permanently, unless.
Are there any plans to implement a spectral equivalent for echoes? I'm gonna say on paper, I'm not even a dev, but like on paper, like it's a little early.
Yeah.
But at the same time, possibly, I guess,
maybe.
if Echo becomes too strong.
Yeah.
I have seen a lot of people saying Echo's okay, but it's not like destroying
I think people
everybody.
are still really trying to figure out what
where in the
builds
build
and
it
where
fits.
exactly.
Yeah.
And we were trying to figure that same thing out too, right? Like
sure,
the more
for
time
sure.
goes on, like perception and player perception will matter just as much as everything else. There's been many times in Smite 1 and Smite 2's history where something like crit, right, was like everyone's like, okay, it's busted, but it's so good, it's so good, and then like one bullet point change later, it was like no one's building it anymore, right? So even though statistically not much even changed at all.
There was a. Are we aware that Gilgamesh ult can cause frame drops? We are aware of that. So that is something that we have fixed internally. I'm not sure if it has made it into a hotfix. Like I know the hotfix was going live today. I don't know if it made it into that hotfix or if it will be in the next update. But we took a look at it. There were some things about the way that the FX were being implemented that could potentially cause kind of an overload in terms of the number of FX systems that were going.
Gotcha.
Especially if you were on low FX or low settings, it wasn't like maybe properly regarding those. So we did look at that. We got that. Should be more performant coming out either in today's update or in the next one, I would say.
Are we concerned that tanks now have 3 items that reward them for being CC? That's a really like interesting way to put it because we've always had items that kind of reward you for like counter building in a way, right? So it's not necessarily that like we're worried that tanks have 3 options when you could have bought other things as well. You could have bought like Jabal Ben Effigy or like Nemean or whatever it is that reflected. Sorry, that one instead.
Yeah.
We always have counter building items. Are those 3 ones put together too strong for the exact same circumstance? Is something that we have to be careful of. But just that situation itself is not a problem for us.
You can take another one, sorry. I'm sending a message.
The Immortal Minion bug? Yes, I believe we did fix that.
Any chance you're going to add any goofier skins to the game in the future? I think that's the base
Because
it's rig
based on whether
limitations, but I don't think it's necessarily rig limitations. It just is.
It depends how intense you mean by goofier, right? If
Yeah.
we're talking about like Toon Thulu level of goofier, then yeah, obviously that's going to take a lot more work.
Mm-hmm.
But just goofy, I think we like adding goofy stuff.
There've been a couple questions about collections. We did say that on our roadmap, we said that the next update is going to have a new kind of collections.
Yeah, that's right.
It's going to have tracker collections. So those will continue to have like a free page like the other collections did. And you can, get, if you want a bunch of interesting trackers for gods, including some new stuff.
Heck yeah.
That's a new thing that will be coming in the next update.
Cool.
And they'll be part of the kind of mini buy all thing that or mini event that's going to be running for the next 3 updates, I believe.
Can we look at jungle clear? Some are too slow, some are too strong with the balance. That's always something that we're going to iterate on. Like anytime we basically do any sort of item or god change, it's something that we have to be very cognizant of. Like, what does that do for everything else? The jungle role passes themselves haven't fully fleshed out to see who's going to be stronger in what sort of situations before we did the next batch of changes. So yeah, I mean that's just the swing of balance, right? Live service game, we're going to continually be addressing stuff like that.
for clarity purposes, could you rename Echo to Echo Chance, just like it's called critical chance and not critical, and make it a number with a percentage? So, because 30 Echo just translates to 30% chance that your abilities do Echo.
Right.
I don't hate that. I'm not. I wasn't the designer on it, but we can talk about it.
Pon seems like says it seems fair.
Okay.
I think that also I would agree.
Nuke dodgy.
I think we've been
I feel like we've done that
back to back a few times.
Like 5 patches in a row. Like is she still?
She's had a couple. She's on the up and up just lately. I think.
Yeah,
some of the new items that have come in as well. We've seen a little bit more of a play.
She's been on the like top ban counts, and we've been ban like rates, and we've been nerfing her based off that as well.
Some of it's just based off the gods that are against in the jungle as well, which she's got good matchups into. So we're seeing more of Daji at the moment too. Same with Tsukuyomi, who's been sleeper in.
Tsukuyomi, I think, has been like
rise,
sleeper for sure. More bunny girl skins. I mean, it's Easter.
It's Easter. You never know. Hotfix notes are available on the Smite 2 wiki. You can just head over there. The hotfix notes are right there right now. Someone did also mention, did we talk about Damaru today? Yeah, Damaru had a hotfix item adjustment yesterday. I'll recap it again. Damaru now currently does 10% per stack. It's still multiplicative. I hate that word. And Damaru now only procs once per target per ability, even if it crits or echoes on the same hit. So just slight adjustments on that, really, that will just bring it a little bit more in line. There was just a few edge cases around Damaru that was just causing a lot of frustration for players in game.
Genos from Paladins Win. Genos is a god. He is canonically
We talked
a
about
god.
that at one point, yeah.
But he stole Giannis's ult, so like...
Yeah.
Oh, that's
well.
true.
His is through space and time instead of through time and space.
No, his is through time and space.
His is through time and space.
Instead of
Giannis
through
is
space and time.
and
Okay,
time.
I remember it's backwards.
You got me then where I'm like, wait a second.
Who
have I
worked
said
on
it right the whole time?
Genos? Like, do we remember?
What?
Who was the designer on Genos? 'Cause
Uh,
they had to have enjoyed Smite. Like, you're not just making that name up,
Yeah,
right?
I mean, like it was like
Adonis makes
Garrett
sense
and
then.
Adonis back then,
Okay,
were like
yeah,
the
yeah.
two.
Adonis Kret, right? Like that's what.
Oh, Kret was there too. Yeah.
Yeah, because I mean, they had to have been a Smite player. It's like,
Names-
they're not
I haven't thought
making
about
that
Kret
mistake.
forever,
Names
man.
out of the history books
Yeah.
just coming out of nowhere. Shout out to those two.
Yeah, shout out to them.
Good people.
Adonis is on Valorant now, right?
Yes.
Yeah,
I believe he was.
Yep.
And then I haven't talked to Kret forever. I don't know
He was
he's
working
up
on an indie thing last time
Was
I
he?
spoke to him, but it's been a while.
Will new stats be added to current starter items, or will new starter items be created with the stats in mind? I think that's an opportunity.
I think starter items as a whole is something that we want to, continue to see where we flesh out, especially like even just with the role passive changes, right? It's like that has done a lot of work to what starter items could be, and then we're at step one again, like a new step one of what starter items could be. And I think whether we want to introduce some of the new stats to them, that's not a bad opportunity at all.
Can we change the surrender majority needed from 4 to 3? Seems almost anti-democratic that 2 people, of which are usually griefers, can force 3 people to sit through the game.
Welcome to voting laws. Like that's all I'm going to say there.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know. I feel like...
Do I want to be I don't want parties of 3 then in my games. That's my argument back of like I don't want 3 controlling.
We were at this in Smite 1 at some point, right? And then we switched to the newer system, I believe.
Pretty sure
later on in
that
Smite
was
1,
very early on.
Yeah,
in Smite, though,
but I mean,
that
I
was
think
less
we
than
made
that.
the switch and we saw more positivity for it. So it's like,
Definitely,
well,
definitely.
personally, it's like we could, but we made the switch and people were happier for it. Just going backwards for the sake of going backwards, we'd probably just get the reverse.
It just feels like an argument not worth it because, like in my mind, it's going to be an argument both ways. Like
exactly.
I'm not an F7
That's
warrior
always
by
what's
any
tough.
stretch of the imagination. I can look at a game and go, I don't want to be in this one for 50 minutes.
Yeah.
And we're 12 minutes in, I'm like, this is a 50-minute game. If we win this, we could just go again. But there is people that want to play out because they're like, no,
I tend
know
to F7.
I have
F6.
faith in myself and my friends that I'm playing with that we're going to come online eventually because we're Jingwei.
Yep.
You know, like we're going to get that.
The funny thing is that, and this is just kind of somewhat anecdotal, but it happens a lot in ranked games or games where people get sweaty. A pretty decent amount of time, if one team is winning pretty hard and the game goes long enough,
they will throw.
They almost always throw.
'cause everyone gets excited. They troll around
people get
and, like,
excited,
happens
or the
all
one
the
like
time.
me, like one person's carrying really hard, and then they just in the enemy jungle, and then just die by themselves, and then everyone just W buttons, and then you can end those games. But you just like ranked games and competitive games, especially in MOBAs and especially PvP games, it's almost always more about the mental than it is the mechanics.
For sure. Straight in chat right now,
the
but
mental,
always
you
winnable.
win.
You know, people have that mindset. I appreciate the people that can do that. I'm definitely of the sense of like you can win, but is it always worth it?
I think that honestly, like I don't know, something I've been talking to people about and thinking about for a while. Just like our surrender system as it is, I think there are some things about it that encourage people to surrender
to go again,
too much, right?
Sure. That's fair.
And I think that there's a strong argument to be made that like the surrender timer should not start until later in Conquest. Like there are obviously some MOBAs that just don't allow you to surrender. I think that's too far.
Yeah.
I don't think we should go
I've
that
had
far.
2-hour-long games of a
almost
MOBA.
Yeah. But I think that like I do think that 10 minutes for conquest and rank conquest, true. Sometimes you do know that a game is over.
Really
but
over
it's
there.
really rare.
It's really out there.
Yeah.
That at 10 minutes it's over. And you have people that are slamming the surrender button from minute 5.
Yeah, exactly.
Right?
It's a good game, good game.
And I think that also like I think that like I don't know. We've had talks about like all sorts of weird systems to try and encourage people to like believe that they can
believe in yourself.
Believe in yourself, right? Like, and not to just not to overly surrender, right? And I don't think we've got a great pitch for that yet, right? Like we had what chat suggested at one point in time that you should make people like answer a little questionnaire to surrender, like why are you surrendering?
Sure.
You know, like make sure they really like
just like check boxes.
Yeah,
Only do it well. No.
To start a surrender vote, right? We had talked about like having a limited number of surrender votes, like per
general,
day or something. Like you can start 3 surrender votes a day or something. So it's not
There's
like
a lot of different.
So you have to like use it more strategically and not just like I'm just going to smash
Please.
it over and over, right?
I've definitely done it in one of the games we've played on stream.
Oh yeah, for sure.
Where I'm just
That's
like I'm done
so.
with this game. I'm not happy with it.
Yeah.
But
I think we actually won that game too.
We did, but I knew it was going to be
Yeah,
hell.
but yeah,
and I was
and
like,
people
I
aren't
don't want to
having
be
fun
there no
with
more. I was like,
right.
no.
I personally only queue Smite to F6 at 10.
One thing to go back to, because Pond mentioned them earlier, and I want to just say them out loud. Gilg's stats as of right now is actually a little bit weak, around 46 to 48% win rate. So not crazy weak, but he's actually struggling more in Conquest, but climbing a little bit.
Let's see how Aspect goes.
So could use some buffs potentially, but yeah, that's where we're at right now. People might not realize it, but he's he may be strong because you haven't faced him in a while, but he's actually not performing.
I'd also say
super
probably
strong.
because of the new items, the new stats coming in as well. Probably messing with that as well on top with him.
Sure.
So he's probably just like hitting.
And there's some learning processes.
Yeah, definitely for sure, and people playing against it too.
That's cool.
Gilga aspect is so cool. I love it.
Yeah,
awesome
we'd love
to
to hear that.
Question about ranked titles going out. Titles went out for rank last year. The winter title did go out. Sloan, I know you keep asking that question, but it's already there. If you've not got it, you can reach out to support.
Yeah, that might be the best case right now. Can you push for the Panda? I'll still say it. I know we haven't had, I think we already had Panda Day, but maybe Panda Day next year. We try and get some Panda cosmetics out there.
Maybe.
Because there's a lack.
Are you
not that one, though. Like, sure, if we want to bring that one back, that's fine. But that one was like, I think maybe in Smite 2 it'll look a lot better, but in Smite 1 it almost felt like a mascot costume, right? That was like almost Five Nights at Freddy's level of creepy.
I went to the zoo.
That was my first voice
ago. A couple weeks ago.
Yeah.
To the zoo. We used to have pandas. We no
used to
longer
have
have pandas.
pandas, yeah.
And now there's just like, it's just like an
sign.
empty part of the zoo.
Oh,
There's just
really?
like a sign. Yeah, it's just like
I was just
it's not
making
even.
it up.
It's just like a wall. It's like
that's
just don't
sad.
go over to the huge area where the pandas used to be. So it's kind of sad.
Do you guys like Baja Blast? No, it's pretty good. I remember when we were in Vegas for the Smite 2 tournament, there was a Spikes Baja Blast.
Yeah.
That was
Yeah, they've got
pretty good.
the Taco Bell Cantina.
Yeah,
cool.
you know what I'm talking about.
I do.
I was working that weekend, so I'm like, yeah, cool. Baja Blast alcoholic. I didn't know that.
No,
Good to
it's
know
good.
Any word on Tahuti change? I want to build fun mage items. If we had word on a Tahuti change, you'd hear about it already, or we'd be talking about it, but at the moment, no. But we did just have Echo in there.
Nice one, Exco.
Yeah, it's something that we've said it before. Like Tahuti it's on our list.
Yeah.
We've got a lot of things that are on our list that we want to get through. And again, the way that we do development, we don't wait until we have like, here's this entire chunk of stuff and we're going to ship it all at once. It's like we're going to address a problem. We're going to ship it out. We're going to see how people feel. We're going to tweak it. And then we're going to get to the next thing, right? It's just
Exactly.
very
And there's
constant
so
new
much.
stuff.
It's like, we talked about the Tahuti stuff. We talked about some of the other stuff, but one could say instead of doing just that right then, we worked on the role passes. We worked on these new systems.
Yeah.
And it's like, would it have been better to address the Tahuti and the fallout there and then maybe come back to one of these things months down the line, or do that now so that we can like flesh out again the foundation of what Smite 2 could be before we then address kind of the one-off issues?
Then why release 5 new stats at once? So a couple of the stats are very closely interrelated, right? And it kind of just made sense to do these as a bucket, right? Some things make more sense to do as a unit, and some things make more sense of like, not to do it that way. So it's like, I think what I'm mainly saying is like, we aren't going to hold stuff to ship it in a bigger patch later, but if we get a lot of stuff together that kind of logically goes together.
Yeah, it's also when you're working that from both the design and even the programming aspect. Like, we could then look at how the UI was going to need to be supported at the same time. If you had to do that once again piecemeal, you might not get the grand scheme of the bigger picture. It's like if we did that one at a time, we might have realized, okay, we would have had to stop at 2 or 3 unless we got a larger scope of work. And then when that arrived later on and what that coincides with could have been a lot more problematic. So it's better to kind of understand what you're going to need and scope out for that.
Are you guys afraid that Smite 2 will be so different from Smite 1 that returning players from Smite 1 won't want to play the game because it's a completely different game?
So I think that this is a philosophical issue which has challenged the project since day one. There are people who want Smite 2 to be exactly Smite 1, but with better graphics. There are people that want Smite 2 to be a completely different game than Smite 1.
Yep.
And there are people that want Smite 2 to be somewhere in the middle.
Yes.
We've tried to kind of find that sweet spot in the middle where the core second to second, I'm playing Smite feels like Smite.
Yeah.
But we update a lot of the stuff around the edges where it's like, okay, well, there's new ways to play gods with aspects. There's new ways to build your gods with the items, different stat scalings and whatnot, and there's new objectives to fight over, and like
things look visually different.
Right? Like we've tried to find a happy medium where it's like it still feels like Smite, but it feels like something new and different. And I think that like no matter what direction we go in that spectrum of exactly Smite 1 to completely new game, people are like not happy.
Yeah, you can't appease everyone, literally.
So we've tried to find the path that we think is best for the game. That's been the way we're trying to go.
I want to mention, like, 2015 Smite, if you played it today, is nowhere near the same as what 2019 Smite was, just to be clear.
Sure, exactly.
So anyone that takes a long break or a big gap, but also everyone who played Smite 1 in the early days has aged, including me. I may not look like it, but I have aged too. And in doing so, you've all grown up and don't have as much time for games. And games, realistically, while they're made for everybody, they're always wanting to be appealing to a newer audience or a younger audience because they're the ones with more time to play these games and get really integrated into it too. Yeah. So it's not always going to appeal as time goes on of like if you played season 3 of Smite versus season beta of Smite 2, you're going to see massive differences.
Yep, absolutely.
And at the same time, there's not a ton of those players that are always going to come back in a weird way. It's not like we've got, never ending of like, well, the season 3 squad of Smite 1 is on its way next week and we need to make sure they're happy with how the state of Smite 2 is. It's just kind of not the case.
I see somebody who keeps asking about feeling like the game is in a snowball meta, and if there's anything that we're going to do to address that.
I mean, so I think a lot of people are still trying to understand how to build and counter build with the new items and stuff. And while things may be strong, even if it is a snowball meta right now, which I think is somewhat contextual, because I still hear a lot of people saying like tanks have just gotten tankier with all the new opportunities they have in their stats. That's something that we will continuously balance around. Like that's in a way that's just the fallout of a lot of change happening. And it also depends on which kind of game mode we're talking about. Because one of the times I've seen that feedback being given, it was like actually, from an arena player, while Conquest was in a completely different place, or vice versa. Because I've seen the complete opposite too. And even Kazao, the snowball issue in the trenches. But that's
I was going to say, it's always changed.
The casual players in the trenches ends up being where a lot of that pain is felt first, right? And I think it's totally viable. But sometimes we need to understand like where are those pain points being felt. And how long will that persist? Because sometimes whenever there's a lot of change, there is a little bit of learning. Like Smite is a MOBA after all, and MOBAs, especially with itemized change, like literally item changes, they're one of the most complicated MOBA-esque types of systems. It's going to take a little bit more learning. Mm-hmm. Heck, I know like when I load into the game, even like the playtest today, I was like, you know what? It's Friday. I'm going to brain off. I didn't buy a single one of the new stuff because I was like, I just want to do my old stuff right now. Like I didn't want to think.
I built new stuff to start, and then I transitioned into old stuff. I like that. I was playing support today, and I like the tenacity items. I'm having fun with them. So I built a couple tenacity items, and then I was like, okay, now I'm gonna do some other stuff because I need to. Do you ever worry with all the new content being pumped out that it can be difficult to properly identify problem areas, items, character systems, etc., due to so many confounding variables? So it kind of touches on what you just said about how MOBAs are, inherently ultra complicated, regardless of what MOBA you're talking about or how quickly they're introducing content, right? Like we've seen that doing absolutely nothing to a character can cause their win rate to go up or down by 10%.
Yep.
Because some item that they build got buffed,
or their counter jungler that we didn't even maybe have thought about had their item nerfed. Or something like
it can be a couple not confounding, but compounding.
Yep,
Thank you, a couple compounding things. But I think that for us, we feel like one of the things that we are good at is giving you all new stuff and new fun toys to play with, right? And we are. I would rather make sure that we are giving you guys new fun stuff to play with than we stop trying new things, we stop giving you new stuff, and the game is suddenly, I don't know, like let's even say it's 20% better balanced, but you don't have any new things to play with ever. I mean, I think that maybe there's like a level, and I shall say like on patch day, because I think that if there's something that's egregious, we get to it pretty damn quickly afterwards. Yep. Like I think that that's not really a trade-off that I would make, because I think that it's more exciting to have new fun things to play with, and then let us quickly react to it if something is broken, versus being like, oh no, we can't upset our fragile meta. Like it's like, no, we're just gonna put new stuff in. It's gonna be fun.
But even at this, like I fully agree with all of that. But there's still no worlds like, and I remember I had a long conversation with someone for my stream once of like, okay, why can't you guys just aim towards being balanced? Like, in what world are we going to be able to balance between all different matchmaking and skill rating levels in all the different game modes, between controller and keyboard, and between like having a high esports scene? Like that's just quite literally never going to be possible. Yeah. And should that be possible? And the answer, as we kind of were saying, is still not really, because we're live service games with like, between Smite 1, Smite 2, 10 plus years under a belt. If it was the exact same thing from day to day, week to week, month to month, you just get bored. Like people want things to change.
Two quick ones. Are we going to look at how quick casting works for Morgan Le Fay's 1? Yes. So we actually had to completely rework that ability. Yep. And it took, to fix all of the edge cases around that ability, we legitimately did have to completely rewrite the ability. Yes. But it should also result in the ability feeling, thank you, Rocky. It should also result in the ability feeling smoother to use on all cast types. I believe that should go live in the next update. It just took us a little while to completely rework it.
We went back and forth between the ambassadors, making sure that like we fixed every different component of it. Yep, that was a pain. And then
are Herc and or Odin on the watch list for nerfs? I would say we definitely hear there's a lot of feedback that we should be looking at those gods.
Yes.
I will never confirm or deny exactly what the buff list is going to be, but I've been hearing.
Hey, one of the reasons why we buffed Hercules recently was because he was like one of the bottom 2 gods in the game at all skill rating levels. But we also do know, even historically in Smite 1, that Hercules is almost always one of those gods that just stays down in the trenches and people will still think is good. So he's one of the ones where like, it sucks because we would love for him to just get a little bit of love, but anytime he gets love, and then maybe the itemization and everything says double down on that. That's totally fair. We still need to have a look at that.
Yeah. But maybe he's
slap him back down a little bit.
Maybe he's more like a Giannis, right? Maybe he needs to be balanced at like a 40% win rate.
That's okay.
Just remove him.
Just remove him.
That's what I'll do. And then I'm like, okay, cool. You all complain about Herc? No Herc no more.
He's almost very simple in just what he does.
What if we just turn gods on and off during patches? Just randomly,
Wait, we did. I feel like we jokingly talked about that once. We were like, what if like in ranked, instead of bans, you just do random sets of bans or something like that, so people just had to just try different things.
Even the world of esports was discussed.
Esports, exactly. Maybe it's
weird rules around that of like you RNG spin a wheel, and these ones are no longer allowed to be played and stuff like that. Crazy stuff.
Have we seen the feedback?
Delete Herc, Candy Banner's back. No, I actually like Herc, but I do agree with the community that he does seem very overtuned at the moment. But I think what Clumzy was saying is more important, is actually the itemization's really leaning in to making him feel that way.
We've seen the feedback of Inbound and Benny on Twitter talking about how solo lane is bad. So I did see this thread, and I think it largely lines up with my personal opinions on solo lane right now. I think that like the first few levels of solo lane tend to be extremely coin flippy, and because the early damage potential is just very high right now, and it makes solo lane is not a great experience because of that, right? I think that we tried to address that some with our base stat changes by making traditional warriors a little bit tankier. I don't think it had quite the impact that we were, at least I was hoping that it was going to have on solo lane. But I will say that is something that we are aware of and we have discussed internally several times. I don't know exactly when we will address it or what the correct way to address that is. But I will say that like that feedback does line up with my personal opinion on solo lane, that like the reason why it is less fun is because at the very beginning it's so easy to take almost all your life in one combo, and then you just can't.
But at the same time, I still remember exactly the same feedback, but the opposite. We're like,
You
guys,
can't
we
kill
want
anyone.
lethality because all they do is
Yeah.
clear the wave and go underneath tower.
Just remove rocks.
It's like,
Remove rocks.
But I think the problem's
so
before
tough.
rocks.
No,
Like,
it is. I
yeah.
just know chat will explode going, what? Rocks gone? No, my
so
rocks.
Soul Lane has always just been such a delicate balance between whether people should be able to kill each other, whether like the teleporter, is going to be too free, whether junglers show up, even though you guys have free wards or whatever.
There's a big difference between a high level player though and an average player in terms of how solo lane metas go.
Yeah.
In terms of poking somebody out is a sustainable factor rather than all in and on cooldown. A lot of solo lanes will just all in and fight consistently, run out of mana, die or something like that. Whereas just poking them out and getting the lead to rotate and stuff is a more formulaic thing. But people can abuse that and play it to their advantages. Solo's always going to be one of those.
I definitely don't disagree with anything said. It's just a very. I think Soul Lane is such a delicate.
You do want to see
balance
some
there.
deaths down. You do want to fight to have a reason to fight, and I think that's one thing solo lanes wanted, which they've got. But now people are saying, well, like, maybe that's too far.
Yeah.
And then I'm like, well, where's the balance place?
And then I remember seeing a similar discussion. I think it was on Reddit as well, where people were like, it feels so insurmountable when I get like a couple of kills and then the other person, sorry, the enemy gets a couple of kills and I feel like I'm so far behind. But then I saw so many people like counteract, like, actually, if you get the kill back and now it feels like counter Snowball is way too strong. And
Correct.
It's like, and we've played around with those values somewhat recently this year as well. So it's like,
and like the
depending on
value of like
what's
getting a
going
kill
on.
on someone that's got on a killing spree or something like that is very valuable in terms of experience and the gold too. But then it comes back to the F6, F7 option of like, if you F6, then you can't
don't get that opportunity. Exactly.
But you F7, you get that opportunity, you're back in the game.
Yep. Make rocks adaptive rather than both stats. I've heard that argument as well, so that it's not as strong in like the hybrid characters. But I think on the grand scheme of things, that's not the most important thing on the list.
The menus, accepting mastery rewards in a god menu, for example, can be a bit clunky and not always work the first time. Is the team aware of that issue? These issues, and you have time with fixing it? I'm not aware of that one in particular. And I'm generally not aware of things not always working the first time, other than if you have if there's something wrong with our API and the call doesn't go through the first time, which happens pretty rarely. So if you have any details, definitely. If you could submit like a bug report with the video, that would be helpful to see exactly what you're talking about. Let's see.
What is something you wasted too much time on?
That's a good question.
I don't know about wasting too much time. I think I have like two stories. One that like up till this date still, Shablanke's one and like his basic attack thing was like some of the hardest interconnected stuff that I've had to work on because it involved his basic attacks, like his one stim, his ulti stim, his combination of all those things together. And I remember definitely struggling with that one. And then I think one of my favorite UE5 blueprint stories, which is not very, very exciting at all, was just like I was working on like a math issue with vector math and stuff and just things that I was still a little bit new to the team on. And I went from having like, I know this is not gonna make any sense really, but like this much stuff of blueprints over the week, I was working on the weekend as well, to like this much stuff, to this much stuff, and then I talked to the program on the Monday, and they're like, "Dude, you could do all that with one node." And I was like, "You kidding me? Like, you know how much time I spent on a weekend trying to figure this out myself?"
It's the more complex version, though. So the
I was basically doing what that node was, but expanded out. I was like, "Oh my god, what?"
Now you know how
literally from like 30 to 40 nodes to one node. Oh man, that was a time.
Is yellow text and ability description supposed to indicate a movement ability?
I know we did a pass on like different keywords and the coloration of them.
Yeah.
I know movement speed does have a
should be,
keyword
but I
tag
don't want to
for it.
guarantee that it's everywhere that it should be.
Yeah, I'm not positive.
And there's like dozens of them. So
and it could also include like speed ups, which aren't necessarily movement abilities. So,
ooh, this is an interesting question because I think it's also really, really tough. Any thoughts on making jungle starts more intuitive? Optimal starts rely on teammates knowing the newest strats and cooperating, which can be difficult to quickly communicate. That one is such a tough question. We went back and forth on Smite 1 so many times. There was a the large period of time where a lot of people wanted us to do railroad starts, which is like you start these camps literally start first, then these, and then you just keep doing the same thing. But then you do that for enough months, enough years, and then you get the opposite thing of okay, just change the railroad start to be a different railroad start. Okay, now just do something different now. And we found out that over time, even though it's a bit of a skill, floor and casual game issue, being able to just kind of do whatever in a way is actually still interesting. I still haven't changed my start from just being speed buff to the back camp to red, even though my chat and my stream are you don't do that anymore, you do this. It's yes, I guess you do need to communicate with your team a little bit that this is the start that I'm going to do. Yeah. And that can be a little bit tough if people don't want to listen or they want to do their own thing.
Or they're not used to it and they're like, no, what do you mean? This is going to screw me over. So
other than just the most railroadiest starts, this is still more interesting to me. It's as the jungle, I have the most opportunity to be okay, instead of doing that start, I'm going to do a different start, so that way I can gank dual lane earlier, or I can gank solo lane earlier, or I can be at their back camps and invade.
It's nice to have the flexibility. I do feel like the biggest proponent we're kind of talking about, I feel like here, is just mid laners. Sure. For the most part, because dual lane has their kind of set roles of we're doing purple, or we can go and start lane if we want, or invade. Whereas the mid laner kind of gets a little bit dictated by what the jungler start is, of where they go to get the next farm. They don't really need the jungler, by the way. You could tell your jungler to just get lost, just to be clear, and go farm camps of his on your own. I mean, you're more than welcome.
That's actually what I've seen happen more.
There,
it's the jungler will do their thing, and as the mid laner, if I finish my wave and I don't see them doing something obvious that's nearby, I'll just take the closest back.
But it is a mid laner thing that's standing out there, because the junglers have flexibility now, and there's always going to be hey, this is the correct start. We're going to start Scorpion into red buff now, because then we can get this and get the rocks. Or we're going to get dual lane by going speed and yada, yada, yada. But the mid lane is the one that's man, depending on what the jungler does, I've got to do this route necessarily, which has a knock-on effect.
Yep.
I'm kind of a new player. Do you have any further plans to make towers do more early on in the game? I come from another MOBA. It feels strange to me being able to be dove under my tower. And past 20 minutes, I frequently feel like they lack damage earlier on in the game. So we did make a an update in this update to change how quickly towers lock onto you and start shooting you when you go under tower. Okay. So previously there was a 0.3 second delay, and now that's instant.
I didn't know that.
So so that was an update that happened in this update. That was the first thing that we wanted to do, was change that and see how that affected how people felt about tower lethality. There's a fine line in terms of tower lethality, where it's they should discourage some things, but they shouldn't discourage action completely, right? So I think that we've had a lot of feedback about towers, and if they're not lethal enough. I think that we wanted to get this timing change in first and see how that affected things in this update, and then from there consider hey, do we need to start the damage a little higher? Does damage need to ramp a little bit more? Is it totally fine? But we just wanted to fix this issue first, and then we come back to it.
If you are getting 2v1 or 3v1 under a tower, though, you're probably going to die, and the tower won't kill them all. Yeah. You may kill one if you're lucky, but you're looking for a rotation there. In a 1v1 scenario, if you're under your tower, realistically, you probably are surviving or dying, and they're on very low health in the trade, is kind of the balance point there. You can outplay them under the tower as well, but it's also stages of the game. There's so many things that come into it of are we talking about 10 minutes in the game or 20 minutes in the game? What are the builds of these people? Who are you against? What's the item level? That all comes into play of the tower stuff. I do think towers do a good job. Could they do more? Sure, but then you'd probably get less fighting and more turtling in the game overall. Which is an additional effect.
People enjoy fighting. That's
which we have once again seen that side of the feedback as well before.
Of people just turtling, not fighting because they can just stay under tower because it's so safe.
Towers should one shot. No. The game would not. The game would not work if the towers one shot. People would never try and take down towers, and matches would take.
And there's other takes as well, chat as well. You're there to protect your tower, not the other way around. And in theory, you are a god or a goddess, and you're there to protect this tower from going down, to stop the evil forces of chaos or the amazing forces of the order taking down your titan. It's kind of the idea.
Get baited, Sauron.
Does plating mitigate tower damage? I don't know. That's a good question. I don't think
so. Is tower class as a basic attack? I'm going to say no. That's where I don't think basic.
Flare Boot says no. So
no, because those are typed by God enhance. I don't think minion damage would also do that either, but maybe.
We should make towers one-shot people for April Fools for like an hour. Yeah, I don't know. Maybe not.
I can't even imagine like trying to.
I will say
that in
over
for
the
that.
years we've done 1 or 2 April Fools, and most of them they're like, okay, turn it off now. Like
Yeah.
once was
People
fine.
people
like,
aren't happy.
10
usually.
minutes was
Yeah.
great. Ha 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 ha.
We did
move
like
on.
the
Yeah.
scary pots in arena or something
We've
like
done all
that.
sorts of that.
Yeah.
They were like,
Or was
no,
that for
get
Halloween?
off
I don't
already.
remember.
Yeah.
I remember just like back in the day in Smite 1, like Pon and I and a few other devs, sometimes on April Fools or Halloween would like jump into random games like Arena and then just like have fun. But then we also had Reddit posts made. It's like, this is the one Arena game I get to play a day. I don't care if it's April Fools or not. Stop trolling my game. I'm like, oh. Then we stopped doing it and started doing like custom games only. It's like, oh, geez, okay.
Does plating work for Mercury 1? In theory, I want to say it is because it's a basic attack, right? Merc 1 does get procs basic attack, so it would reduce the basic attack damage.
Not quite the same way. I'm assuming it's checking literally if it's an in-hand attack versus whether it can proc in-hand effects.
Okay.
I don't think that would work.
Give everyone Aladdin's lamp for April Fools. A consumable that lets you fire a lamp.
Does it let you fire the lamp, or does it
I'm
just
just-
like let you wish? Do you all get a wish?
We talked about Witch Granting Pearl doing something funny, but we never
That'd be
quite got
amazing.
there.
Wish everyone just respawns with the lamp they've got.
There's technically the Happy Birthday Cupcake Godman. I think that's still available somewhere.
Emperor's Armor. That's an item I haven't thought about in a while.
It's another one of the ones that was interesting, but it's like that one. I think there
I see
was
a lot of people want that.
the one that empowered like a minion nearby, but like people just didn't end up ever buying it, or they did it in assault only.
Specific game modes
And,
really
yeah.
enjoy having that, like the tower just do more,
Yeah.
or the towers do less against them.
Make arena super speed for April Fools. One of my favorite arenas was the one that had the,
The
running track
track,
around the
yeah, that was
outside.
cool.
That was a fun.
That was surprisingly.
I
interesting.
just like the holes. I like the one
Yeah,
whenever we
that's
put
what
the
everybody
holes
likes the
in.
best.
I actually did like the Fire Giant one.
But I don't play a ton of arenas, so that kind of stands out to me. Of like,
Yeah.
I will go in to play that mode, but I
Yeah.
wouldn't stay there all the time, like a lot of
Now,
players
how
do.
would you feel if we put a strategically positioned hole
In Conquest?
in the fire giant pit?
I'm so down, 100%. I'm a support main though, so like I just get to
Hercules stocks
mess
go
around,
up.
just like pulling the Hercules into the hole or something like that.
Yeah.
Or
Like,
baiting it.
Yeah.
That was some of the funniest ones as well. When Hercules would get baited, like uses driving strike.
yeah,
and
like, I'm
just,
gonna knock you in, and you blink through it.
Yeah,
And you're like,
agility
yeah,
stocks goes
yeah.
up. You know.
I'm fine with holes in the Conquest map.
Yeah,
That'd be cool.
I don't know. I've always been.
Turn that Joust one. You know the Joust like has a fake hole.
Oh yeah, make it.
Yeah,
into
turn that into a
one.
real
Yeah.
hole.
I thought
Oh,
it was
yeah.
at first. When we were first making that map, I was like looking at him like, is this gonna be a real hole that people can Because that's kind of cool.
I don't know, because I've always had this thought, because people loved the arenas that had the holes.
Yeah.
People really enjoyed in like Paladins the kind of like insta kill volumes, like if you knock people off the map.
Genos hit
Or-
again,
Gotcha.
just thinking about that.
Like Torvald, it's
Yeah, yeah,
working,
yeah.
and you just knock everybody off the map. Or
That's what I was thinking of, the Torvald.
yeah,
That's
and there's
good.
the like the fidget spinner on the one map that's like the fidget spinner of death. If you
Right.
care, you can like pick somebody, like pick somebody up and walk him into the fidget spinner. Like those things were really like fun, and they weren't like they worked in a competitive game of Paladins.
Right.
And I've always just wondered, like, having insta kill volumes in like Conquest, would that be?
I mean, technically, we've got the doors at
We got the
Fire Giant.
doors,
and that's a
but-
variation of that, but it's not the same variation. I like the outplay potential
Yeah.
of like a hole in the ground that if we dance around the hole, it's going to oblivion. We could all fall down it, or you can pull people into it. You can kind of play around that. Is a kind of a fun thing. But I can get the frustration of people going, man, I'm full build Hercules and I got one shot by falling in a hole. Don't fall in the hole, you know. Pretty simple.
Yeah, I don't know. It's one of those things where I think that like it might be too much, but it's one of those things I've always just had in the back of my head. Like,
Right.
If it was
That could be
everywhere,
fun.
if it was in one spot or something like
Yeah.
that, it could be fun. But like everywhere would maybe be too much.
yeah, everywhere would be too much. I think you would probably just have one.
Yeah.
In like around somewhere that you expect fights to take
Like when
place.
Fire Giant
So-
dies or something like that, or before Fire Giant spawns, when he's dead and respawning, there's a hole in the area. Sounds kind
Yeah.
of cool. Something like that. No, I'm not talking like the crater size of Fire Giant,
Yeah.
by the way, like just a small hole. But hey, could be fun.
Put a hole in the center of Soul Lane.
See, I think the in lane would be too much. I think we need to be like somewhere, like either near Gold Fury or near Fire Giant. It would
Best
be,
two spots. Oracle is
Yeah.
the only other one I can think of. But
Or you know when
even
you
then-
blow up a door with the runic bomb, it just turns into a hole instead.
Oh, that's interesting.
I
don't know.
I'm thinking about the implications of
Yeah,
a hole being
gameplay
there
wise, I
instead
don't know
of
if it
Yeah,
works,
yeah,
but-
a
actually-
door being there of like, well, we can't get out, but they can't
But
get in.
exactly, it's like that doesn't end up being
But
the
they could
the
leap
attackers
over,
event,
and we could leap over,
yeah.
and we could pull them into
but they
it,
could already
they
go
could-
through it theoretically
Yeah,
beforehand.
yeah,
so,
yeah. Down the rabbit holes we go.
Yeah, just runic bombs as a whole leave holes. So
No,
no,
that
that'd be
that
too many.
does not
That'd be too
work
many.
with the way that
Oh, it's also
tech
dynamic. Yeah,
works.
exactly.
If it's dynamic, yeah. It can't do
But-
dynamic holes.
But that would be a great game.
It would be fun.
Imagine a reading game where everyone just gets runic bombs and you're throwing them and he's creating holes.
Yeah.
It's like Swiss cheese. It's 158 though, which means it's. Go on, what are you gonna say?
Oh, I was gonna do a little sidebar story thing real quick. I don't know if you ever saw. So the EverQuest people announced a EverQuest 3 at one point called I forget what it's called, EverQuest Next or something. And it was really interesting because it was going to have a fully dynamic like voxel-based engine, so almost like Minecraft-y, but like very high resolution. And like abilities were actually like deforming the ground and like
I think I might have remembered seeing.
and you could like knock holes in the ground and end up like down like with goblins and stuff. You know, it was a very interesting technical thing that they had that allowed that to work. And I was like, that would be interesting. You know,
like,
if
you know, Battlefield
dynamically
and
carving
stuff like
out
that.
holes in the ground. But the reason why it never got too far is because I guess it was not performant enough to actually work on any computers. So there are always
that
trade-offs
plus
for
like
those kind of
lighting
things.
and stuff like that as well. Yeah.
Yep. Anyway, sorry for my sidebar. Just
There you go, because I was going to wrap the show anyway, so it's kind of rude of going, yeah, please finish, because then I'm going to go, hey, it's 2 o'clock now, so it's time for
One more question.
or 3 or 6, the usual. See how it goes.
Rocky is sweating. It's like, no, I mean, we talked about that a while back. I mean, I remember one of AJ's stories was like, you know, one of the original ideas for like Hecate ulti was whether we could carve through the world, and the answer is just no. The answer is
sounds great.
just
on paper,
hard
though.
no.
Yeah.
What?
That was one of the initial pitches for her ult was like it would just like destroy parts of the world.
Yeah.
You know, it was like, oh, well, that would be cool, but
I just wanted you to watch it, Flair. Simple as that. Expect. All right. Aspect. Yeah, sure, I can see that.
Lads, I don't know how many more Aspect Nuwa Echo Reddit complaint posts I can take. We have definitely seen that feedback. I think that is the one biggest outlier, and we have been talking about how we will address that.
Yeah, I think we are going to see a little bit of shifts coming up in that direction, but not going to go into too many details.
Is that just mainly around New Ult is kind of the focus there? Or can we say that?
Specifically, the aspect a little bit more.
Okay.
You know, just small, tiny things there.
There was going to be outliers always with these updates and with these new stat adjustments. The funny thing is that people are talking about with this whole like Noir situation of like, just to be clear, guys and girls, you could have done that with Noir last patch before these items came in, okay? The Noir Morrigan combo of both ulting, hooray, it's been done before, it's been around for a while. There's always going to be situations like that in the game, but sometimes they're just exacerbated by the situation of new stuff coming out and people going, look at this, look at the state of this. It's like, well, it was there before, but no one was doing it, and now everyone's up in arms about it, so.
It's intentional for Daji to tell you to a god and using the 3 to tell you to... There's a lot of tellies in that.
It's not
word.
Basically,
I think
if
saying,
you
like, can
if
go
it's
there,
time,
please?
as they're backing, if your ability is casting while their back completes because you haven't damaged them yet, it doesn't interrupt their back, and you can end up in their base. It's very,
I would say that is definitely a bug and probably more like a race condition
that
that are
with?
happening on the Daji Eats 3.
Oh, Daji
Daji is somebody's backing.
This one,
it's
this
been
one
that
too.
way.
Fenrir's done it at times as
Fenrir,
well.
Loki.
Yeah.
I would say those are probably just
Once upon a time,
already answered all phases.
Sylvanas used to be able to pull people back from the foul.
Yeah,
way
those
back
are
when.
fun
I've seen that
times.
one before, where they literally adjust base and you catch them with the edge of it, and it brings them all the way across.
That's cool.
That's a fun one, but not always. Ares ult too. Funny enough, once upon a time. Did you answer one, Clumzy? I might just start here waiting for my question. Yeah, you did.
Yeah.
You did. And you did, Calgary.
I did.
Then we're leaving.
All right,
We're done
that's
for the
it.
day. Thank you so much for tuning in to this Titan Talk today.
Play Gilga Aspect.
Yeah,
Play
Gilgamesh
Gilgamesh Aspect.
today.
It's available now.
Exciting.
Clumsy, thank you so much for being on the show today.
Yeah, it's been exciting.
You too,
Appreciate it every
Kilgoon. And
time.
like this weekend, obviously, keep playing. Check out Gilgamesh. We've got Smite Prime Finals this weekend of the month of March. So check in with that. Also, AGL, the Albion Giants League, is starting to formulate what team's going to be in the league. That's on this evening. And OSL, Olympus Smite League, is on Sunday as well for the draft league to see how they're all going on as well. But we'll be back next week. And with that, we'll be talking more about the upcoming gods and the future of Smite 2. We don't see you beforehand, though. We'll see you all on the battlegrounds. Goodbye.